Hello, I'm Valentin Mandaci, the architectural historian, and today I'm going to speak about the Orient Express, the famous train, especially about its Bucharest to Varna leg. You know that Orient Express is the epitome for luxury travel. It started in 1883 from Paris to Constantinople to Istanbul, and it took travelers from as far as London. Is the epitome of luxury and comfort when at the time when the continent started to be opened by these railways and when the travels were something really tough, sometimes outrightly dangerous, especially to places like the Balkans. Only think about the etymology of the word travel, which comes from the Latin travail, which is hard work to the death. The ancient applied this word also for journeying, doing travels, and only with Orient Express we have this comfortable and luxurious apex of it. That's why traveling by Orient Express it became a metaphor for luxury and comfortable travel ever since, not only by train. You use this metaphor Orient Express conditions, or like in the Orient Express. Let's have a look at a small advert from for the timetable in 1888-1889, which I found it on Wikipedia. For the copyright, it's a Wikipedia advert. Is this one? And you can see that is very attractive for people from France or Vienna or London where it was distributed. You have the Istanbul's image under a Moorish arch, which is not typical of Ottoman architecture, but more of the Moorish one in Spain. But nevertheless, this is an artistic license. It's not something entirely accurate regarding architectural styles. You have here a Turkish fountain, an Ottoman fountain, better noticed on the side, where the landscape, the synthetic landscape, kind of fantasy landscape of Istanbul with the golden horn as the train approaches the Sirkeci train station, the terminus in Istanbul. The timetable is here, is for the winter 1888-1889, so probably between December 1888 and February 1889. And here you can see the map of the Orient Express, the route. As I said, it took travelers from as far as London, but its starting point is Paris, where we have this Turkish Ottoman Empire shield hanged, and the train went through famous places like Nancy, Strasbourg, Stuttgart, Munich, Vienna, where it went into two branches to Budapest, and other two major branches to Constantinople, one to the south via Belgrade and Niš to Salonik, and another, the main branch, going via Sofia, Plovdiv, Philippopolis, as it used to be called, Adrianopolis, to Sirkeci train station in Istanbul. The other one which I am will be talking today is going via Szegedin in Hungary, Transylvania, over the Transylvanian Alps to Bucharest. As you see here on the map, this railway looks like going via the southern Romania, but again it's an artistic license. In fact, it goes via Transylvania, which used to be part of the Habsburg Empire at that time, crosses the Transylvanian Alps, and the travelers go to Bucharest to its main train station, Gara de Nord, the northern train station. From there, they could disembark, or the ones who wanted to continue the journey went via the circular railway of Bucharest to the Filaret train station. That is the oldest train station in Old Kingdom Romania, which is what here we call the country before Transylvania came in after the Great War. So this train station was built in the 1860s by British engineers for the Ottoman Empire, because This Romania at that time was nominally an autonomous part of the Ottoman Empire. And the travelers go from there to Giurgiu. This is the first railway of Romania, again built by the British for the Ottoman Empire. So it's from the 1860s. From the Giurgiu, they were ferried, the travelers, over the Danube. And it wasn't a bridge at that time. The bridge over the Danube came into being only in the 1950s at the initiative of Stalin, if you can imagine. So these people went to the other side of the Danube in Bulgaria. At that time, the Bulgaria was a principality within the Ottoman Empire. It became independent only in 1908. At Ruse, which on the map is mentioned as Rushchuk. I put it, zoomed it over here. From Rushchuk, again, on a former Ottoman built railway by the British, travelers go all the way to Varna. And in Varna, very interestingly, they embark on a boat, on a steamer, along the coast of the Black Sea all the way to Constantinople. So this was probably the most difficult and also quite romantic, as I would say, in my opinion, most romantic and interesting leg of the journey. I have a few postcards, old postcards from these stops, Bucharest, Gara de Nord, Filaret, and the others, and also photographs made by myself when I traveled in these towns. And thus I hope to give you a better image about this leg of the journey, how it was performed more than 100 years ago. Let's see the other images. So as I said, the train came from Paris via Vienna, Budapest, to Transylvania, all the way to Bucharest, and this was the train station, Gara de Nord, main train station of Bucharest. You can see over here. A modern one built by the Germans this time. You could start in any town in Europe at that time. This is from 1870s. It became a bit more modern as the time passed by. And here is a drawing, again used as a postcard of it. And you can see the townscape, the humanscape of the train station, quite luxurious, when it used to receive the Orient Express train in its heydays. This was the place which was greeting them. From there, the train was going to Filaret via the Circular Railway of Bucharest. The Circular Railway of Bucharest is the old military railway built by King Carol I in the 1880s in order to link the forts which were defending Bucharest, a huge military project. And this is the train station, again built by the British engineers in the 1860s. Now it's a bus station, and unfortunately it's a ghost of itself. It's just a shell from what it used to be. This is from the outside. I live very close by to it, actually, and often I go in the neighborhood. And here is inside the station. You can see all of these iron ore structures from the Victorian period, from the 1860s. Here used to be the rails, but they were taken out in the 1990s, and it's a bit of a shadow of itself. But it can be restored, of course, with effort and willingness and know-how being asked to contribute to it, but so far it hasn't happened. The travelers, as I mentioned on the map, they were ferried from Giurgiu to Ruse, and there they were greeted by Western-like architecture in the Bulgarian town, as we see here, because the Bulgarians are very keen to have them as customers for their shops, hotels, and to undertake journeys in the neighborhood, in these Danube banks, towns of Bulgaria. So in the high street is full of Art Nouveau architecture, quite tasteful, I would say, a bit provincial, but it was specially made in order to impress these Western travelers in a country which had deep Ottoman traditions, including architecture in Bulgaria. I had the opportunity to survey the Ruse High Street when I went to lecture about the Balkans historic architecture when Danube cruises which are anchored in Ruse. So this is a picture taken in one of those assignments. Over here you can see a beautiful doorway. This house is for sale, that means prodava, and a beautiful woodwork over here. Again, in a country which didn't have this tradition, but they made it purposefully to impress and attract customers from the West with lots of financial power. Or this mascaron, again from Ruse, in a very nice Art Nouveau style. This one is another example. They were taken via the railway to Varna, which, as I said, it's an old Ottoman railway built by British in the 1860s. And again, there was Art Nouveau houses and structures, like this beautiful one in the port of Varna, where we have another instance over here. Beautiful Art Nouveau structure, bottom of a balcony in the main high street of Varna, or spectacular ironwork, Art Nouveau ironwork. This the road between Rus and Varna is the old Roman road which linked the Odessos, the old Greek colony port on the Black Sea, with the important Roman legion stationed on the Danube called Prista, and in that period, in that time. The train station in Varna, again, was built spectacularly, as you see over here, specially for the Orient Express, and is still around the train station to admire it. To give again even more feeling about this leg of the journey between Bucharest and Varna, I found on YouTube an old recording of Ian Nairn, the famous architectural commentator, English architectural commentator of the 1970s, who produced a few episodes for the BBC on the Orient Express, stopping in Munich, in Budapest, and for a short while in Bucharest. So I have here for about 1 minute his views of Bucharest. So they are over here. Let's listen to them.
As I said at the beginning, the Orient Express as a train has always ended in Romania. Although the destination has always been Istanbul. I say they went from here by boat. So we followed the actual route, and we'll now make a big loop south ourselves by rail. Bucharest, coming straight out of this, under the station canopy, straight away strikes me as much more alive and vibrant and varied than Budapest. Budapest feels monolithic. Here, there's all sorts of differences in clothes and faces. You get a real sense of the Balkans here, but you also, oddly enough, get a funny echo Western Europe. Romania is one of the oddest mixtures in the whole of Europe. It's very unexpected and very pleasant mixture. In fact, Bucharest sort of sometimes calls itself the Paris of Eastern Europe. You can't see much of it here.
So, Ian Nairn, the famous Ian Nairn, says there that Bucharest always called itself the Paris of Eastern Europe, or as I call it myself, the little Paris of the Balkans. And that is the way how I characterize it in my tours, in my blog articles, and my video reports like this one. So we are here in a bit of a meeting of minds. So I hope through this kind of glimpses into the past, and with this iconic train journey, it's most mysterious leg, I would say, between Bucharest and Varna. I hope that I gave you an idea about this important aspect of cultural history of Europe, and with special regard what has happened here in the Southeast Europe, especially in the area where I am based, in the Northern Balkans. Okay, hope that you found it interesting. We'll see each other very soon. Thank you and goodbye. I am Valentin Mandaci, the architecture historian, your expert in the architecture history of Southeast Europe. Thank you. Bye-bye.